count of three. One, two.
Come one, come all, to Sly and JBell's review of Avengers Endgame.
Endgame. Holy moly. They
don't
did
worry.
it.
Yeah, but I mean, don't worry. It won't be our last review. It's just a movie of that. I mean, a review of that movie, which is the end of the Avengers as we've known it, right?
Yeah. There's so much to talk about here, Bang.
Yeah.
You want to take the lead on this one?
I certainly can.
Okay.
I certainly can. As I've said a little bit earlier, I've taken some notes.
Okay.
More notes than I probably took in 4 years of college.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
well, let's hold off. Let's hold off 1 second. When we did our Alien Covenant talk, what we did beforehand, we kind of laid out our familiarity with the material.
Yeah.
So do you think that would help here? Or you want to go right into the stuff?
I'll be honest, I'm cool either way. If you'd like to go ahead and open it up and give it a little bit of context, works for me.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of comic books in general. I've read comic books since I was a kid. My dad even had a box of his old comics that I found when I was like 4. So I read my dad's comics. I read the new comics at the time. I pick them up every now and then. I try to keep myself pretty much immersed. I still enjoy them. And these MCU movies, I basically see them all. I love them all. I'm a huge fan. What about you?
So if I'm being perfectly honest, I am one of those people who over time my enthusiasm for the MCU movies has been on like a steady decline. I mean, there have been certain characters that I have felt like, man, I'd love to see some more of that.
Right.
But by and large, I'm trying to think of which one really started it. God, no matter what I say, it's going to everybody's gonna be like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah.
But I mean, look, even when I can't believe I'm even saying it, when Winter Soldier came out, I wasn't that enthused. Really? I had to watch it like a second time before I was like, yeah, it was a pretty good movie.
Okay.
It's a pretty good movie. But
that's interesting.
The subject matter had already gotten to the point where I wasn't like dying for the next one to come out, if you know what I mean.
I think I understand. That's interesting. I'd never, for most people, Winter Soldier is kind of one of the crown jewels.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way everyone came out of the theater, right?
Yeah. So it's actually, it's cool that we're going to get two pretty different takes on this stuff. Why don't you go into your notes here? I want to see what you got here.
For sure. So the first thing, of course, the overarching plot device in Endgame is the notion of time travel.
Okay.
The movie doesn't exist without it.
I would agree.
So
we got to set another ground rule. Are there spoilers in this talk?
I feel like there have to be at this point. Okay. I mean, how we're making this video. This movie's been out for what, 2.5 weeks at this point?
I think it's that long.
I feel like at this point you're just kind of if you're searching around YouTube for videos on Avengers Endgame, you've got spoilers coming straight at your forehead.
I'm okay.
Right?
I just want to make it clear before we get into it.
Exactly.
Before we say so-and-so didn't make it. If someone was thinking this was like just a straight up like review of it, not getting into it. So you've got your warning, folks. You know, spoilers abound.
Yeah.
At your own peril.
Literally nonstop.
Yes.
It's going to be every 5 seconds another spoiler.
All right. So go back to your list, Benny. I'm sorry for interrupting.
That's quite all right. Quite all right. Well, so the issue with time travel, and there's so many points, I'll go straight into so many points in this movie where it was like the writer, directors, whatever, anticipated somebody like me sitting there and tried to preempt my critical thought of the movie. So they went out of their way very early to talk about, this isn't your father's Back to the Future or a Terminator movie. No, we're doing time travel right. Those other movies were stupid. We're doing time travel right. And their conception of time travel is that multiverse kind of thing where every decision you and I make is branching into essentially other universes.
Right.
Right? I mean, so, you go back in time, you are not, just affecting this linear kind of time.
Right.
You're affecting other branches. And
We
that's
should have brought out the chalkboard for this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and that's how it seems like every movie always kind of attempts that idea. But I'm just not, I'll be honest, that notion of time, I'm not a huge fan of. I think they did a decent job attacking it in this movie.
But it's not your flavor of time travel.
Yeah, so the thing, we'll try not to go down the rabbit hole.
Oh boy, here we go.
It's one of our favorite series of all time.
Probably number one.
Yeah, it's probably mine too. But the kind of time travel story I like is like with Legacy of Kain.
Right.
And again, we said spoilers. Well, here's a spoiler for Legacy of Kain.
For a 20-year-old series.
Yeah, so if you haven't caught up with Legacy of Kain, that's your fault.
That's on you.
That's not
Do
my fault.
that.
Yeah. So that idea of, sure, you're going back in time, forward in time, whatever you want to do, but you're not actually changing anything because the things you are doing, you have already done, you always will do, and have already affected the reality around you. But
careful. That series also folds in on itself. It contradicts itself.
It does.
And says you can change it.
It's true.
If you basically try hard enough.
Yeah, you flip the coin enough times, right?
It's going to land on its edge.
Yeah.
Ooh, you think Thanos going to remember that?
Oh, I love it. And by the way, maybe you can lean over and see this. Tell me Vorador doesn't kind of look like a character in Infinity War and Endgame? Just with bigger ears?
Yeah, that kind of looks like, what was that boy's name? The Maw?
Right.
I can't remember his full name, but the Maw, the shit-talking Maw.
Yep, I think that kind of resembles him.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
But yeah, so as just a frame of reference for how I feel about time travel as a storytelling device, I will say I think they did a good job of it in this movie because they do explain as best as the human mind can wrap itself around it. The idea that you had to go back to a very specific point, the exact point that you took the stone, go back to that exact point to bring it back so that timeline that you took the stone from doesn't get screwed up by that choice,
So
by that
we got to pause there, though.
Yeah.
Because I thought I followed it and I thought more about it,
Yeah.
and I have questions, which I think is kind of one of the underlying themes of the movie that we're going to see complicate things as we go forward in the Marvel Universe, the MCU. At one point, I thought they were saying you had to take the Infinity Gem was what created the parallel timelines.
Right.
That was so. If you took the Tesseract from 2012, you had to put it back in 2012. Basically, the moment you took it.
Right.
Fine, and that's how you prevent the alternate timeline from showing up. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, wait a second. Just by you being there, even if you failed, doesn't that create an alternate timeline?
Doesn't it have to? Yeah.
Unless they're saying the rule is, in order to create an alternate time, to create an alternate timeline, the only thing that can do that is an Infinity Stone. Nothing else actually affects the time stream.
Right.
And I don't think we know
if that's really what they're going for.
What either one really means.
Right, yeah.
And not that it really makes much difference for this film.
Yeah,
it's only going to make a difference going forward.
All the future ones, right? Yeah.
I felt like you. I felt I understood it enough to understand the plot. The more I think about it, the more questions I have.
Exactly.
But it doesn't subvert the movie.
Yes.
You're still able to buy the movie, follow along, follow the plot points, and kind of understand what if something goes wrong. And they call it a time heist. In the time heist, something goes wrong, and they're like, we have to do something else to make this thing go right.
Yeah. And
it's not like that didn't fit in with what they told me. No, that still does fit in with what they told me. I'm going to throw it back to you, and I'm going to save a couple more for later.
All right. Yeah, well, the notion itself is certainly going to come back. I mean, we can't keep talking about it without talking about time travel.
Yeah.
So the next thing that comes up for me, and full disclosure, I never saw Captain Marvel.
Uh-oh.
I told you. So I did not see the standalone film. So any perception I have of her is purely based on this movie.
Right.
So my takeaway, and by the way, I think I showed you this photo. I love this picture of her. Oh my gosh. That is from the film. That is in fact from the film
that's actually
that
one of my favorite scenes from that film.
Is it?
I saw Captain Marvel, quite liked it. She's like, obviously she's fighting these baddies at the time. Wink, wink. And she like the scroll like makes a face at her. She makes it back and like knocks the crap out of him. It really is a fun moment in that that movie. So I think it's interesting you didn't see Captain Marvel, because I remember going into Captain Marvel really excited because I was going to see a lot of this character, and it was going to set up Infinity War. It was going to set up Endgame even more so. And I loved Captain Marvel, but I don't think it really did that. Yeah. And when you kind of lay it out on paper, you kind of understand that it can't. This movie happens almost entirely before the Avengers are an idea. Yeah. You know, Captain Marvel is from the mid-90s. Right. And an interesting note I read about Captain Marvel and Endgame, her performance, Brie Larson's performance of Carol Danvers is different. And it should be different. It's like 20 years apart. That's fine. It's not in itself a problem. Captain Marvel is her second time playing Carol Danvers. The first time she played Carol Danvers was in Endgame, because they filmed her stuff for Endgame before they filmed Captain Marvel.
Holy crap.
So she's still figuring the character out. Right. In Endgame. You're seeing her first run of it.
Oh, wow. That's an impossible task right there.
Oh, it's so impossible. Yeah. But when you go back and you watch Captain Marvel, the character does feel more lived in. She's way more comfortable in the role in Captain Marvel. And I think, honestly, she has more to do in Captain Marvel. Obviously, it's her movie. Yeah. But that was one of the things I was kind of surprised, was like, she's got a relatively small but important part in the film. I thought she was going to be one of the core protagonists, and she's basically only there to bookend the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was something that really struck me about her, and they tried to kind of explain as best they could in the film. I mean, when she goes toe-to-toe with the enemy, I get the impression that we don't need any of these other dudes. Right. We don't need anyone else here. Right. She can handle this. She can take down the entire fleet on her own, which she basically did. Basically does. Destroyed an entire gigantic spaceship. Which was awesome. Incredible. Awesome. And I'm just like, it's one of those things, whether it's in a video game or a movie, where you'll see like two heroes going at it, punch for punch, and then somebody unleashes like the special attack or the missile barrage, and you're like,
where was this?
Why didn't you open with that, right?
well, Ben, the meter wasn't full yet.
That's true. Of course, it couldn't have been. But I mean, I know mana. The thing they were trying to explain earlier in the movie, again, seemingly to preempt some chucklehead like me, was to say, or I guess she said it when she was on the intercom, whatever the hell that contraption was, saying
space time.
Well, it's like there are thousands of planets that I have to look after. It's not just you guys. Like I'm on the other side of the universe right now. Like I'm not just sitting here waiting for your call. So I get that. Like I get that's why she like shows up in the middle of the heat of battle, because she's got other shit to do. Like I get that. But I will say I never, by the end of the movie, I can't say I fully understand the speed, or I guess the mode or speed of her travel. Okay. So
that is a question I have as well.
The movie opens with her, again, we've already said spoilers. I don't know why I care. Saving Tony. Right. All right. My understanding is he's floating in light years away from Earth. Has to be. Right? I mean, no one was ever going to find this dude. Right. And she finds him. First of all, I don't understand. Secondly, manually carries his ship.
That's right.
All the way back to Earth. Now, the only speed I've ever watched her fly is definitely lower than the speed of light. Right. Which would say to me, everything on Earth would have been dead by the time she got back.
So two things here, Benning. Yeah. As far as like the strength to do it,
Yeah.
I think the movie, without spoiling Captain Marvel, because there's a little bit of a wrinkle to that, the movie does show you that she is strong enough to do that. I think her taking out the big battleship at the end. If you want to tell me she can carry like this smaller ship, I don't have a problem.
Oh yeah, the strength itself, I believe it.
But like the thing you bring up about travel, I'm kind of with you on that. And from the comic books, the Captain Marvel line has this like secondary pure energy form, and maybe she's doing some kind of deal where she's like turning into an energy that can go through space and time faster. I don't know if that's really the cause or the solution here. But I will say one of the things that we do see, and that's consistent throughout all these space travel movies, they don't use warp. They don't use faster than light travel. It's those gates.
Right.
Even when Rocket's flying the ship, he goes, the jump point's here, and they do that like grid thing.
So why couldn't she do the same? Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's
so
true.
as long as she's got the ability to access that, I assume that she would.
Yeah.
I didn't even really understand the principle behind that.
Yeah.
But if it's just a gate, she's just got to fly into the gate.
That is a good point. Yeah, and that was one thing I did like about the fact that she was kind of late to the party.
Yeah.
I'm glad she at least had time to stop by and get a haircut and get the short cut.
So do you think she got that on world or off world?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. I guess maybe there was another alien population that found her long hair offensive, and she was like, I need to back off here and just get this chopped off.
So
or maybe she has a kid we don't know about, and she was just cutting her hair so they'd stop playing with her hair.
One of the things on Twitter that I find really funny about this movie, the discussion of Natasha's haircuts, and I guess they were wigs, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't think the hair looked great, but I wasn't like distracting. But there were several people on Twitter who were like, these wigs were so bad it took me out of the movie. And then I thought, like, okay, is that like an actual like plot point? Like, did all the hairdressers die, or like maybe like the hair care products are like they're like not as plentiful or something?
Yeah,
like,
it could be.
Or like maybe she's like I wear wigs because like I'm a spy, right? I can't be recognized, so I put on these like shitty wigs to go to like other countries. But I think it's funny that like it's unfortunate that two of the prominent female characters have like these very noticeable and kind of controversial hair tics that aren't really like the point of the character.
Right. Yeah,
like,
they shouldn't even be an issue. Like, you should be trying to maintain some continuity so that nobody's even pointing it out in the first place.
Well, like, consider someone like Nebula, who I think we need to talk a lot about.
Yeah.
Nebula, the fact that Nebula doesn't have hair in the movies, in the comic book she does. She has this wonderful like late 70s, early 80s like disco hair. It's fantastic. But like this Nebula is they really want to show you she's like been her humanity, I guess that's probably the wrong term, but her individualism, her natural form has been like twisted by Thanos's like contempt and abuse.
Yeah. And
one of the ways they do that is they give you a bald-headed woman with like machinery throughout her head. And to have someone that like this actually serves like a purpose, and you're like, oh, I see that. And then you have the other two prominent female characters. I'm saying two because those are two we're talking about, and those other female characters. And then you have these other two where you're like, so what's up with these two girls, and they don't have the same like? Did the budget go to her and not to you guys? What's the deal? Right. But I kind of like the short hair on Danvers. I know it's from the comics, so I was kind of cool to see it.
Right.
Whatever.
So my, of course, practical opinion is, having never had long hair, but certainly being able to appreciate it as an obstruction. If you're whooping ass, and it's in movie after movie with female characters, but if you're whooping ass, do you really think you're going to be doing it with hair that can keep coming in front of your eyes so you can't even see what you're doing? Like, no, of course you're going to cut it short.
You know what?
Because that can't be a liability.
I don't want to spoil Captain Marvel for you, but like...
There is an explanation?
Not an explanation, but there's kind of a wrinkle as far as like how that doesn't bother her.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
And for you at home, I will do this. And that will explain all.
Well, so speaking of Nebula,
okay.
Of course, this is one thing we're talking about her metal head. What I found funny, I think I was telling you about earlier. I found funny when she peels that one little slip of the plate on. I guess, tamed Nebula
Right.
off of her head and puts on herself. And all I was thinking when I was watching it were the movies where the cute girl, or I guess maybe oftentimes it's the other way around, the nerdy girl who wears glasses and has like a ponytail, takes the glasses off and lets the hair down, and suddenly she's sexy. It's like, it was the same thing. I guess it's like the opposite way of how I have these pictures. Like, oh, who is this nerd? Oh my God, she's beautiful. But it was like that idea of like, no one will ever know who I am now.
Sure.
And I guess one of my biggest questions with how that character interacts with the story is she is the gateway to Thanos and his army getting to this point in time.
That's right.
On Earth.
That's right.
Okay. How does she know how to use that switchboard? How does she know how to use the time travel machine?
Yeah.
The best I could come up with, because they made it a point, again, I think, trying to counteract people like me.
Yeah.
They wanted to say, they combed through her memories with a fine-tooth comb.
Right.
And maybe she was glancing at Banner using this thing at one point, and she learned the sequence. That still doesn't really make any sense. Because whatever he did with that machine is not what she had to do to bring that army to that point in time.
I think you're might be you're underselling our girl Nebula on this one. Mm-hmm. And when the movie starts off, it's not just Tony working to fix the ship to get them off of Titan, I suppose it was.
Right.
Like, she's also involved in that. So I think we can infer that this person who we know has robotic parts, she has not familiarity. She has some expertise in advanced engineering, and we see her flying her own ship at one point. She's like repairing herself at another point. I don't think it's really a stretch. Like, would you have blinked twice if, like, instead of it being a second Nebula, they had sent like one of the other villains in disguise as Nebula? Mm-hmm. I don't think I really would have. I think I'm more okay with that.
Right.
And it's just kind of like, it looked like it just had knobs and levers. It didn't look like if Banner was always like writing like a fresh calculation or something, maybe like, okay, you don't know exactly how his mind works or something. But it did seem to be like a device, and I suppose anybody can figure out a device.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I know I couldn't have figured that out, but I guess she could.
I mean, you got this whole thing set up here, Ben. Don't say yourself short.
Right. Well, the next thing I had on my mind was, it kind of revolved around Tony Stark.
Okay.
For starters, his discovery of time travel. All right?
Yeah.
So I get that he's a genius. That's the whole point. He's a freaking genius. But they really go out of their way for him to keep dismissing the idea that this time travel crap is even possible. He's like, that's ridiculous. I'm not doing that. I know part of it was like selfishly motivated. He was like, maybe I could create this, but I wouldn't want to do it anyway.
Right.
But the way they show it in the film is like he just retires to the library.
Yeah.
And just like says some stuff to his AI. It was like, run such and such calculation. I don't know what it's going to do. Ding. Like the microwave goes off. You created time travel. I'm like, that was like 10 seconds.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
So that's fine if you want to tell me that he's that smart.
Right.
But
I think he does tell you that.
Even with Tony Stark intelligence, whatever takes him 10 seconds, I feel like the rest of humanity could have figured out in the last millennia, right? It just like seems like, why wouldn't this have already existed if he could come up with it in 10 seconds?
Maybe not though. So yeah. I'm gonna agree and disagree. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what really kicks off the movie? Like, what really kicks off like the plot of the time heist? It's a rat.
The rat. Oh, okay. I see
what
you're talking about. Yeah.
Hitting a button in a storage unit.
Right.
And it's one rat in one room that Ken Jeong happened to be working at for no good reason.
That's right. Oh, it was such a cool cameo.
It was a cool cameo, but I was like, is this going to come back at some point? Okay. But like, and to go back to Infinity War, if you remember what Strange said, this is the one way it works.
Yeah.
So did this dude see, and then 5 years later, a random rat is going to hit a button on a machine I've never seen. It's gonna bring some man I've never seen out of a quantum realm that maybe I know about, who happens to be one of the Avengers, who's then going to put the fly in Tony Stark's ear about time travel, and that's going to be the thing that brings it all together.
Like in this particular universe, this is how this is all going to come together.
That's the 1 out of 17 million that it works. And I'm willing to go there.
Yeah.
But I don't have any problem. If you're willing to accept that the rat is like the thing that starts the plot off, then you're in.
Yeah.
You can't say smart guy isn't smart enough. So I also took that scene a little differently, though.
Yeah.
I think Tony Stark has been working on that.
Okay.
I think
he just got finished it.
Yeah. I think he got to a point and was like, I can't do this responsibly, consistently. Like, it gave you a percentage. It said, like, this is 99 point something or 98 point something percent, sure.
Yeah.
I think he might have gotten it to like 60% and was like, I can't risk it. And like shelved it.
Yeah.
And then they come and they talk to him. Because it's not like, when they come and talk to him about the time travel, he's not like, what do you mean time travel? What are you talking about? Like, he already knows, and of course, if you're like a quantum physicist, these are things you're going to know. I'm not saying that. But it seems like he's already thought about these things.
Yeah.
And not thought about these from like an academic standpoint. He's thought about them from like a practical standpoint.
Right.
You can't do this because this. I can't. Get me over this hurdle, and then I'll do it. Get me over this hurdle, and I'll do it. Yeah. And they can't, of course. Then he goes down and he's like, all right, it's been enough time. Let me go back to this model and run it again with this other set of calculations. Maybe it was the first try, maybe it was the 100th try, whatever it was. And then it pops out the one where he's like, holy shit, I landed the Mobius strip.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of took it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that actually is plausible. I think in the way you're saying it, the way it ties in with Strange, I think, is definitely plausible.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell you, it's funny to me how much of that they ignore. I mean, I guess they can't keep winking at the audience the whole movie.
Yeah.
But like, they hardly ever reference that until very late.
Well, they need
feels like in the movie
they need to keep it that way until. Well, they say it earlier, kind of reference it earlier, but they need to not say it.
Yeah. So
Strange can hit you with the one to set you up for the, oh no, what's happening?
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From like a storytelling standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, the only like minor time they kind of put it in your face is when Banner is talking to the immortal one.
Ancient one,
yeah.
Which I think we need to talk about.
And you see her eyes and she's like, okay, you can have it. Because she's just like, clearly he did this for a reason.
So let's go there. Let's go there, actually. Let's go there. Because I have a couple different reasons that I've only seen it once. I want to go back and see it at least one more time.
Right.
The Ancient One says, I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, maybe I was in a weird headspace. At first I thought she meant, I was wrong that Stephen Strange was supposed to be the Sorcerer Supreme.
I thought the same thing. As my immediate reaction was the same thing.
And then I was like, well, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she's like, I was wrong to believe that you couldn't use the time stone for these other things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, well, maybe she's saying she's wrong about how time works.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I don't know. I'm not even sure the Russos know, so I'm gonna give you another little nugget. About the Captain America ending, the Russos have one take on it. And the writers of the movie have a different take.
Okay.
So, like, I would have thought they would have had, like, a meeting of the minds on that one, right?
Yeah, you'd figure, right?
But maybe it's like, if the creators are kind of split on it, maybe it is supposed to be open to interpretation. Maybe, and look, there's two Russo brothers directing this. Maybe one brother thinks it's one thing and another brother thinks it's another thing, and the writers think it's a third thing. So I keep coming back to that Ancient One, that Ancient One meeting, and I'm like, man, and I think back to how spoilers for a movie from 2012 or 2014 whenever it came out. Yeah. When the Ancient One bites it, she has that talk with Strange during the lightning strike.
Yeah.
And she's like, I've been waiting for this for so long, and now it's here. how do you know this is coming unless you've used the time stone, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Right?
true.
Or maybe not the time stone. Maybe you've done something else to like be predictive, or like something has happened. But like, I have more questions. And I like that this movie didn't answer all the questions. I like that there are these alternate takes. I like that you can use the movie as your support and come up with a different read on things. I think that's a strength.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because, I mean, that to me is a quality of very good fiction writing.
I'm with you
right?
on that.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. What was next on your list before I derailed this with Ancient One talk?
Oh, well, I can throw in a couple of small ones.
Please.
How about, for starters, can one explain to me snapping?
Okay.
Why and how is this the thing necessary to activate these stones?
Right.
I'm willing to grant that the stones themselves make no sense to me anyway.
Okay.
I'll grant that we're just going to attribute mythical powers to these. They're like as old as the universe or older or whatever, however we're explaining them. But I'm just wondering, so you're telling me only beings with opposable thumbs can use these stones?
Well, I think maybe the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But let's say there was a sentient tentacle race,
Right.
Maybe their equivalent of a snap would be like
a whip or something.
To put the suction cups together and split them. Like maybe that would be their thing.
Yeah.
So the reason it's a snap, honestly, the reason it's a snap is the book that the Infinity War movie was based on. Which I think is the Infinity Saga, Crusade, War. There was a bunch of these things. Okay. Then there was just Infinity.
Yeah.
But the one where Thanos gets all the gems, he actually the movie's like it's about him getting the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
That's actually a book called the Thanos Quest. Gets them all. So the next one starts off with him. He has them all. And he's like, it's time to do it. And he holds his hand up and he snaps. And that's why it's a snap. Because the only other gem we see that requires like a gesture is the time gem.
Yeah.
And that's that like circular deal that Doctor Strange does. But Thanos also does that too.
He does. He reverses it back on who is it that they're in the forest, right? On Vision. Right before he ices him.
He unkills Vision just to kill him. Which was like, that was the moment where I was like, all right, I'm not cool with this guy anymore. F Thanos. That was like cruel. It's really cruel.
Right.
So the other gems we like when Loki uses the Tesseract, he doesn't like poof with the Tesseract. He just uses it.
Yeah.
When Thanos himself uses, I think it was the reality gem when he's got Gamora by the back of her neck.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything, it just does it. So I think it's more of like a literary trick, it's a visual cue for us to see it.
Yeah.
But maybe there is like a mental tick. Like
exactly. That's like, what I'm wondering.
Maybe it's more about us than it is the gems, like the users than it is of the gems. But I would like to hear from the writers and the Russos on that. I would like to kind of know like why do you keep coming back to the snap?
I agree. Completely agree. What else? Oh, I know one other thing that I was thinking of why they approached time the way they did, time travel.
Yeah.
Really was because of Tony's daughter. Like that was the linchpin of not just reversing everything. You know, he wasn't going to go through with it unless it meant she survived, which meant you couldn't alter anything that had happened in the last 5 years.
I think you're right, but I think you got to go one step higher too.
Yeah.
So Tony being the main character of the MCU, that's why, right?
Yeah.
But I remember my brother, God bless him, he saw Infinity War and he was like, I don't care. Everyone's coming back in the next movie.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, it's not really about that. Like, if you need to be like shocked by the ending of a movie, call me the next time you see a World War II movie. Right? Like you go see like Dunkirk or something. Like, oh my God! Then the British came and saved. Like, okay, like you'll never guess the Titanic sank.
Yeah.
Like it's not necessary. Like surely things can be telegraphed, and if like that if it's like a mystery and like you see the ending coming, yeah, it sucks the air out of it. But it's like about the journey.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the ways that I think they protected themselves from making this movie a letdown, if all they did was like go back in time and like kill Thanos before he killed anybody, before he hurt anybody, like, well, then what'd you take us through, almost 3 hours of Infinity War if you're just going to undo everything?
Yeah.
So it couldn't be an undo. You couldn't hit Control Z. You'd have to do a new operation that like helped heal the wound caused by this act.
Yeah.
And I think her name is Morgan. Morgan Stark is the symbol, is the child allegory for we're not undoing anything. Yeah. We're always moving forward. And if there's one thing I love about the Marvel comics, except for Spider-Man, they're always moving forward. They do retcons like any company does, but in general, the story always goes ahead. There's no resets. They just go forwards. And I think that's a better way to tell a story generally. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what that was there for.
Yeah, and just completely kind of unrelated, that girl was freaking adorable.
Dude, she was great.
Oh my God. Oh man. And I'm saying that because I think my hormones have probably shifted because I'm getting ready to have a daughter.
That's right.
And I think I'm seeing her. I'm like, oh my God, it's so cute.
It's gonna be you. Don't worry when you have to sacrifice yourself to save the world.
Exactly.
I'll make sure.
Right.
I'll be your Happy Hogan.
Yeah, I'm gonna clap. I'm actually not gonna snap. I'm gonna be more animated. And
that's
clap.
Your deal. That's a clap.
Yeah, I need both hands. That sounded kind of dirty. Sorry, I'm gonna say it that way. So I think that's a decent lead into something else I was interested to talk about, which was generally about the people returning.
Yeah.
So the people who had been, blinked out of existence or, disintegrated out of existence. The notion that they're being brought back at a different time than when they left. All right, 5 years later than when they left. So the first example that really struck me while I was watching the movie was Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And his buddy Ned, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of that movie, they come back and they're pretty obviously walking through the hallway of a high school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I understand there's such thing as being held back, right? But I'm pretty sure high school is 4 years.
Right.
And what the hell are they doing there?
Right.
So that didn't make sense to me at all. And then I did read that the explanation was anyone who had been disintegrated, that had died, came back as if no time had passed.
Right.
So 5 years had passed for the rest of the world
Yeah.
in existence in this time, in this whatever, this universe.
Right.
But for them, they were picking up basically right where they left off.
Right.
Which again is a wrinkle we started talking about off camera before. How does this work for all of these billions? Isn't even the word, like, and not if we're not even just talking about humans,
Right.
the infinite amount of living things that are being brought back into existence.
The universal fauna biosphere, right?
Yeah, so we can start on the micro level and then go. I really liked your macro level point of like the actual orbit of planets in space.
So this is something, all right, I'm going to cut in here because this is something that it's not that you can't think about it too much or it falls down. I think the more you think about it, the more like magnificent these things are. Mm-hmm. And we also skipped over something we need to talk about. Okay. So the movie starts off, I knew they were going to fight Thanos twice, but I thought they were going to fight Thanos, lose, be desperate enough to try something like going back in time, and then joining the first fight in fighting Thanos.
Not beheading him right off the bat, right?
Right, but they find Thanos and he's like washed. Mm-hmm. He's like, my man is like retired eating soup. Like there's no more washed than you can be.
Yeah.
Shout out to Thanos for seasoning soup though. I enjoyed that.
Good on him. Yeah.
But like, all right, he's limping. So when you see him, he's limping. I thought, oh, he's still hurt from the first battle. Yeah. Why didn't he heal himself with the Infinity Stones? Mm-hmm. And he's not hurt from that. He's hurt because he blew the stones up. He destroyed them.
Yep.
A little note again. I heard the Russos saying that the stones, whatever makes the stones, is still out there in the universe somewhere. kind of interesting. I'll see what they do with that.
And how powerful must Thanos be if that event did not kill him instantly?
Right. And he even says, this thing almost killed me. And I'm like, dude, okay, first off, who is it? Why aren't there more of these dudes? There's only one of these guys left? Really? All right, that's one. But two, okay, they dispatched Thanos so quickly. Mm-hmm. We were in different theaters, and I saw it earlier than you did. When Thor comes out and he takes his head off with Stormbreaker, I was like, I exclaimed, and then I was like, wait a minute, you can't just kill him. And obviously, it's gonna coming back into play, but I'm like, that sets up the theme of the movie of like, the thing that you want to do doesn't necessarily undo the trauma of what happened.
Right.
And it's one of the lovely themes. It's one of the well done themes in the movie.
Yes.
It's a dark, depressing theme, but one of the things that you see, so it doesn't pick up from that moment. It jumps 5 years in the future, and it sinks in just how traumatic this event was, basically for everything in existence. And the 5 year jump, when you see the baseball stadium, like you're a baseball fan.
Yeah, I've got a nice little photo of that.
The idea that like baseball didn't survive.
Right.
Baseball survived, I think, 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, a player strike, steroids, allegedly, all kinds of scandals, but baseball couldn't survive Thanos. And if you're not a baseball fan, it's not going to hit the same, but like, wow. Not even baseball could survive. They do a lot to really sell the idea that like Thanos was so wrong. This thing he did, it might have only removed half of everything, but the weight is way more than half. So that's one. 2. The more you think about, so I said, the more you think about this, the more like magnificent this thing is. They use science to do all this. The Pym particles, the time machine. Tony Stark himself, talks about calculations, and he's using, it's clearly a technological, scientific thing that they're doing. Yeah. But the person that gives you the answers, the 2 people that give you the answers on how this stuff works, are the magic users, who themselves have one of these stones and refer to the magics around it. So it does posit this idea that you might be able to learn about them from a scientific standpoint, but there is a literal magical quality, not just literary magic, right? But there is these things in their nature, and maybe even the universe itself is more magical than we give it credit for.
Almost like a fourth dimension that we can't perceive. It's like our science is only getting us to the 3rd dimension, and there's another aspect that we're not seeing.
And thematically, that kind of ties in with Doctor Strange. Like, Doctor Strange is like, he struggles at first. He can't understand. The Ancient One's like, you don't know shit. Let me show you. Boom. Yeah, right. And he's like, I don't understand. Teach me, right? And he learns. He doesn't unlearn everything that came before, but he has to learn basically like a second language of how to like interpret the world. Yeah. And these stones, for it to work, you have to accept that what is happening, you can measure it scientifically, but what is happening is so magnificent in nature that it is beyond science. Yeah. But otherwise, you're right. Like, if you're just bringing people back, I want everyone back. Where? When? Yes. What state? What if you were in a plane that was flying overhead? Exactly. Is the plane crashed? Are you now in the wreckage? What if you were... there's all these crude jokes, but like, I won't make a crude joke. I'll say something like, what if you were hugging someone when it happened? So when that person comes back, are they still mid-hug? You're just not there? Right. Or are you like sucked back to that spot and like you're now hugging them, but you're 5 years different? Yeah. Right? There are all these like kind of fantastical questions that I don't think they're not interesting, but you kind of have to say they're all back. That's not the point. They're just back. Right. Right?
Exactly. So that seems to be where they're hoping everybody will go with it, because you think of all the situations where things have moved in space, and it's kind of I think almost like a Nightcrawler type issue where you're going to all of a sudden transform inside of another object. You could end up inside of something else and just be melded into a building or something like that.
The point we made earlier, the Earth is not in the same place it was
exactly
5 years ago. Even if it is like the same day of the year, like the Earth, the orbit isn't like the same. Like there's always like small to the Earth, like massive to us changes. Yeah, like you could manifest, you could like rematerialize in the middle of like the vacuum of space.
Of course,
which that's. I think a darker film, like they would have brought everyone back, and like a quarter of everyone would have been like horrifically maimed and murdered, right? But that's not what this movie is, right? That's not what this movie's about.
So I will say, so if we take it and just say, okay, snap, it just works,
right?
It just works. On a practical level, I'll go back to that image of the of City Park. Where the hell is it? There. They, I think, went out of their way to point out that like society had freaking crumbled. Like governments were all but gone at this point. Like it was like the Avengers and anybody that could trying to police what was left of the world.
Well, if the Avengers hadn't been there, I kind of got the feeling like in 5 to 10 years, we're talking about Fury Road.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. So my question in the movie was, what are these people coming back to?
Right.
It's a shithole. I mean, there's not like basically either their loved ones are already dead, their house has already been destroyed, the country has basically devolved into chaos. Like, what a crappy time to come back all of a sudden.
And what about the people that try to move on though?
Yeah. So for sure.
You have enough time for people to like. Let's say, you come back and you go to see your significant other and you're like, baby, I'm back, but they've already moved on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that wasn't part of this movie, because this movie needed to end like in a big, not necessarily happy ending, but it needed to be the up ending after the down ending in Infinity War. But we need to see these consequences going forward. And luckily, Disney has a new channel, so you can get all the series about how this happened.
Yeah.
But I think it was, maybe I'm misremembering, Ant-Man goes to see his daughter and she's there.
Yeah, just older.
She's older.
Yeah.
Do you realize this dude missed like all of her life?
Yeah.
He was in prison for some of it.
That's true.
He was doing his best to be a presence when he was out, and then he spent years in the quantum realm.
Yep.
Like,
it's freaking depressing, right?
For the Ant-Man character, which is like the lightest hearted of the series, for that to happen there, oh boy, that's tough.
Yeah,
that's really tough.
Yeah, So the next thing I had written down to talk about was, leave it to me to try and point out the lack of depressing stuff in the movie.
Oh goodness!
And now, you're saying that, and I'm realizing, death isn't the only sad thing.
Goodness, no, Ben.
Yeah, because I'm the kind of person that the last Nolan Batman movie, I always thought Batman should have died.
Oh goodness, no.
Because even though I never really cared for old Western movies, I do like's probably not the right word, but appreciate the idea that the heroes die in the end. I mean, it should be like 90% of the time the person or thing, whatever, that puts its life on the line to save everybody usually doesn't make it out. Like, you end up having to give the ultimate sacrifice in order for it to work out. Guy. Yeah, exactly.
You're a Shane
exactly. Guy, yeah. So, I guess when I first got out of the movie, I was thinking, what all that bad really happened in the end?
Right.
I didn't think about what you were just saying with Ant-Man. That is actually
that's a horror
awful. Show. The most obvious one that we kind of talked about beforehand, but Tony, of course.
Yeah.
He's the obvious one that they kind of focus on because he dies right there, and they have a funeral. It's the only person we see a funeral for.
Yeah. Not even Natasha gets one.
Right?
Yeah.
Kind of weird. I thought
it was weird too.
Yeah.
I thought a little more about that. I'm more okay with it considering, but I think it's weird that they didn't do. They didn't say like once everyone's back, then we'll do it.
Yes.
Because I think even that I'd have been okay with.
I will say, so as far as Tony is concerned, I didn't really get choked up about it because he has been trying to die in every Marvel movie he's been in.
Basically.
Right? I mean, from the first Avengers movie, you kind of you figure he's dead.
He's the one that takes the bomb up.
Yeah. Right. I mean, he goes through that portal and you're just like, well, he's a goner.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it every movie. So I was just like, he had it coming.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm a cynic. But
yeah, I'm kind of there with you about Stark.
Yeah.
I ultimately am sad to see him go because he was so good in this role.
God, was he ever?
You know, I remember when I heard the casting of Robert Downey Jr. for the Iron Man movie. That was the first time I said, wait a minute, they got this. Mm-hmm. That's damn near perfect.
Yeah.
From like the source material at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I always liked Robert Downey Jr. Whenever I saw him on screen. I kind of knew his troubled history. I had a professor who actually worked with him on a film.
No kidding.
And like told me some stories about like when he was at his lowest.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, this is a lot to take on. But to see like this is a fitting in for one of the better portrayals of a character that we're going to see, especially from a comic book.
For sure.
This is like, it wasn't that I couldn't be sad for it, but like the arc was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
He got to like, he had these visions or anxiety or fears from like day 2 of the Avengers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like he lost, got another shot at it, and then won.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he dies, and it sucks because he's not going to be a third for his daughter. Even if he goes out, he still did what he undid what he feared was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of with you. I was sad in the theater, but I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't bawling. Like when Spider-Man is like in a wreck, Pepper's a wreck, and you see the effect it has on everyone else. I'm sad to see him go, but I'm like, that's a great ending for this character.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And you mentioned the other big character that ends up dying, of course, is Scarlet. It's Black Widow.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pretend to understand how that process worked to get that stone. That whole concept, that whole scene was weird to me.
Okay.
I understand why they drew it out because you're seeing these two. They're not just best friends. They're like, in another universe, they'd probably be together.
Right. Like they're lovers without like the intimacy.
Like they could be brother sister,
yes,
tied to the hip.
Yeah.
Right?
It's more than just friendship. You're right.
Yeah. So I mean, they were trying to draw that as like these two care about each other so much they will die for the other easily.
Right.
But I tell you what, as much as they made Black Widow, Natasha, a central part of the movies she's been in.
Right.
Did she ever get her own flick? She was always a supporting character. No matter how front and center they tried to put her sometimes, she was always a supporting character. So when she died, like, of course I don't like seeing wanton murder.
Right.
But or suicide, but I don't know. The movie itself, Endgame itself, didn't really treat it with the kind of gravity it seemed like it deserved anyway. It's like we were saying, there was no funeral. Sure, they were torn up. Of course, Banner was really torn up, which made sense. They kind of alluded to this budding relationship between them. But by and large, they were just like, damn, that sucks. Let's double down on our efforts. Right? And we just kind of moved on from it the rest of the movie.
I agree that I would have liked to have seen more from that.
Yeah.
And even if someone was like, all right, I think a scene that would have made me happier was if one of the people like Clint said, we need to, she didn't have any kin. We're her family. We're the right persons. We need to have a ceremony for her. Yeah. And have Banner say, we don't need to have a ceremony yet. We have all the gems. We have all the stones. Let's try to bring her back. Mm-hmm. If we don't, then we say goodbye. Yeah. Even that would have been that would have made more sense to me. Mm-hmm. But I disagree in as far as I did care. Yeah. I don't typically enjoy Scarlett Johansson as an actress. Mm-hmm. Although I do think her kind of standoffishness that she played the character with actually worked for the character.
It's pretty fitting, yeah.
It's really fitting. Whenever she turned on someone, I always bought it because I was I didn't believe you to start with.
Yeah, right.
But it always made me doubt does this character care about anything?
Yeah.
And the only time I actually believed that she cared about something without doubting it was this film. Mm-hmm. Somehow in this awful time, she had found, I don't want to say purpose. I think that takes away some of her agency. But she even says, I found something I didn't have before.
That's right. Yeah, I do remember that.
And to see her, find it only then to lose it, I did see the tragedy in that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't need it to be for anyone else. It was, she found it for her. Mm-hmm. And knowing, the character's background has been implied, it hasn't been fleshed out. We're going to see that in the movie probably. But knowing that, she had all this awful stuff basically done to her that people try to prevent her from being a person.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm a person. I can do these awesome things. I'm great. To then be like, no, I'm ready to go now. I'm like, dude, you barely got this.
Yeah.
Let's pump these brakes. Let's go. Let's see what it's like for you. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we don't get to see that, I did kind of feel that.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. They cut it so short.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wonder if there's a cut, a director's cut, some deleted scenes. We see a little more there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so the other obvious, not really tragedy, but so when I went into this movie, I assumed two people were going to die. I assumed Tony Stark and I assumed Rogers.
Right.
I assumed both of them were going to die in this movie.
Me too.
Because they've been there from the beginning. They've got, the most presence in these movies by and large. And I was like, that's fitting. That's fitting for these two to go.
Right.
And I just still don't know how I feel about Old Man Cap.
Yeah.
It's almost as if they wanted you to be sad. I didn't know whether they were trying to make you feel sad, happy, or both.
Right.
For this character. Because, what did he do? First of all, he lied to the whole team, I might add.
He did.
Probably the first time he's ever lied.
Might be. Oh, no. He definitely lied about Bucky.
Oh, that's right. Clearly. But yeah, I just thought it was funny. It's he took this opportunity to lie to the whole crew. He could have screwed up the whole mission. I thought it was strange that he went on his own to do maybe the second most important thing they had to do in this movie, and we never even got to see it.
No question. Okay, so you need... All right, keep going.
The only other thing I was going to say is, he goes back. He gets to live a strife-free, fulfilling life with this woman he's been in love with from, day one, right? Yeah. So... I was happy for the dude.
How did you not be?
Yeah, and it was just again, the pessimist in me is going, where's the tragedy here?
Yeah.
And I'm looking for something to balance the incredible good that they've accomplished against all odds. To me, the other side of that scale, what's weighing that down?
Maybe it's not.
Yeah,
maybe it's not. And as soon as it was him going on the platform, I was like, oh, he made it through the battle. This is the goodbye.
Yeah.
And what I didn't see, I knew he wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
But I didn't see him being there as Old Cap.
Yeah.
I thought maybe we were going to get the Back to the Future 3 courier.
Here delivers the letter, right?
Here goes the shield and the letter. I thought it was going to be one of those deals. So to confirm, I guess we didn't confirm because he very strangely was like, I don't want to talk about her.
Yeah.
And that was all right, so I've got theories on this. I'll save the theories. Mm-hmm. But I'm with you. That wasn't sad. That was beautiful. Yeah. My girlfriend's favorite character is Captain America. Mm-hmm. She went as Captain America for Halloween a couple years ago. She loves Captain America. And I've come to love Captain America more since the movies have come out.
Yeah.
I always liked Captain America, but like I went back and read like stuff from the 70s and stuff from the 80s. The 80s stuff wasn't too good, but in the 90s. But the 70s stuff was so good, and like it made me appreciate the character a whole lot more. And I loved that this character got to like get it.
Yeah.
He got to, you know, it, and we're speaking about the, you know, his side of it, but like it sucked for Agent Carter too. Like she basically confirms, no, I wanted, I was in love too. So it's not just Steve got this, Peggy got this too.
Right.
So it's like these two people who basically spend their entire lives risking their lives for other people actually get the life they wanted.
Yeah.
That's a great thing, man.
Yeah.
That's like, it's like a reverse The Notebook, right?
That's true. Very true.
But I'm with you. It is nice. I have questions about it.
As do I. I'm wondering, you might have the same ones.
So, again, we're not sure exactly which rules are in play. We are told a list of rules, and I think it works within those rules. But this is the point that the Russos and the writers differ on.
Okay.
The Russos think he went to a different timeline and then made one jump back.
Yes,
Here.
to that previous timeline that he was in before.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. I think that works from what they tell you. But I don't think that's necessarily the only way to interpret this.
Okay.
I have two others.
Really? Okay.
The one the writers went with was the one I thought of. We never see the dude that Peggy Carter was married to.
True.
And if it's true that the Infinity Stone is the thing that causes the alternate timelines, it's not just you going back. Peggy always married Steve. He always went back to that moment. He had been there since whatever year he went back to. Had the entire life with Peggy Carter. They had kids, which means there's a little Steve Rogers Jr.'s and Peggy
somewhere in that world.
Somewhere there are the progeny of Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter.
Yeah.
One of which he might have made out with in The Winter Soldier.
That's right.
Okay. She suffers from Alzheimer's. He dips out, checks in with her every now and then, and when the young Steve Rogers is chipped out of the ice, of course he goes to see his one true love, who maybe doesn't have the mental faculties to realize you're too young, because she's suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's. Meanwhile, old Cap is watching, slightly less old than what we see, but old Cap is there during the invasion of 2012, completely unbothered because he knows young Cap
got
is
this
about
handled.
got this handle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sip my coffee, read my newspaper, listen to my jazz records from the 30s. Because I got this under control. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. That's what I think that is a little sweeter to know that, like, no, it was fate. These were always supposed to be together. I think it's a cuter, sweeter thing. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. But there's a third one.
Okay.
What if that's not our Cap?
You're saying the old one that shows up is a different one altogether.
He himself is from one of those parallel universes.
Okay.
And one of the things I found very curious, he hands the shield over and he shakes hands with the Falcon, and the Falcon sees the ring and he says, "You want to tell me about her?" And he says, "No, I don't believe I do." I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
No, maybe you're like, no. Maybe he's just buried his wife or something. He doesn't want to talk about it. Maybe he's like, I'm just private about that stuff. There's any number of ways to interpret that. What if he's like a bad guy?
Could be.
What if he's a bad? We don't really see what happens to him afterwards. And I'm more familiar with the comic books than you do. when he's on the elevator and they're like calling back the Winter Soldier elevator scene,
That was
I was
amazing.
like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
But he leans in and he hits him with the Hail Hydra. Now, I'm thinking like, oh no, they've done something to the time stream. It's evil Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
But maybe that wasn't the nugget there. Maybe the end of the movie, Steve Rogers, is evil Steve Rogers.
He's Hydra Rogers.
He's Hydra Rogers.
Damn.
But like, we won't know that until like whatever they do down the road.
Right.
You know, yeah, it's entirely likely that Chris Evans never comes back to this. That'd be a shame if he never did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can do all of that stuff basically without Chris Evans. This was a fantastic send off to, you know, just as good as Robert Downey Jr. was, Chris Evans was equally as good for Captain America. He was awesome in this movie in particular.
Mm-hmm.
He's been awesome since the first movie. Regardless of how they directed it or how they wrote it, the way it came off, it was a beautiful thing. You know, I can tell you in the theater I was at, when he was cheek to cheek with Peggy Carter, like, there were people sobbing.
Oh, wow.
Like, sobbing. And one of them being my girlfriend. But I was right there with her, like, this shit was beautiful. Like,
Yep.
that's the stuff that dreams are made of, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hope you get to dance cheek to cheek with the person you love one day. You know,
Yep.
that's the good stuff.
Yep. It was. God, it's so funny how we both came away with kind of the same questions about how that worked with Cap. Because I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
Not until like the next day. Didn't really hit me when I got out of the theater. It was the next day. I was like, wait.
Dude, I'll complicate it further for you.
Yeah.
Hey, one of the things that I was like, I was preparing for the death of Captain America, but Thanos took that double-bladed sword and was hacking the shield apart.
Oh, yeah.
When he straps that shield on that last time, it is a half shield.
Mm-hmm.
It is a broken half shield. When that dude shows up at the lake, it's a full shield.
Holy shit, you're right.
Now, that could be as simple as time jump.
Could be.
Maybe the reality jump. Any number of things. He could have had a second one made. Maybe he's really from a parallel universe. Maybe he went to a parallel universe where he got killed and took the shield. There's any number of ways that could have happened.
Yeah.
But it's a whole shield. It's not the shield we see at the end.
That is extremely true. And that's super freaking weird.
That's weird.
Huh.
Unless my man had a spare the whole time.
Yeah, right.
Which, like, maybe he
Which
did.
he could have. For all I know, he could have.
All right, there's a bunch of other stuff we got to talk about,
Yes.
too.
Okay, so I have four more on my mind.
Okay.
First one I had revolves around Thanos himself.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so you kind of already talked about it. I think we both kind of wonder the same thing. This guy who can stand toe-to-toe to the most powerful beings we've encountered in this universe.
Right.
Where are the rest of these things?
Well,
Why are there no more of him? My God, this guy is unstoppable. Right. And it's to the point where I almost can't believe it, how powerful this dude is. Right. I mean, we've said it before, like, he destroyed these elemental stones that transcend time and space and thought and everything, and it didn't kill him. That's nuts to me.
A couple of wrinkles here.
Yeah.
Something I read, I think, on Twitter today from the Russos.
Mm-hmm.
The Russos have claimed that the injury that the Hulk sustained by using the stones, using the glove,
right,
is permanent.
Wow, okay.
And if you're a comic book fan, even if you're not, if you've seen the movies, the Hulk has like incredible recuperative powers. Mm-hmm. Like he's had limbs reduced to like skeleton and grown back in minutes.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing as the comic books. I realize they're pulling from source material, but I think what they're saying is this thing is so powerful that it can even overwhelm the immense recuperative power of the Hulk.
Okay, I see. Okay? Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
but let's think about it.
Mm-hmm.
When the Hulk and Thanos went toe to toe, Thanos got in that ass.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and beat him clean without using the gems.
Mm-hmm.
So we already know he's more powerful than the Hulk, straight up.
Yep.
Where are the rest of them? According to Thanos, which maybe he's an unreliable narrator. I mean, this guy's a sociopath. Let's be clear. His planet was facing some kind of apocalyptic event, and he was the only one who survived. But maybe not. Maybe he killed the rest of them. Like, this dude is...
So he could be legitimately the most powerful being, right? There's nobody that could stand up to him.
Right. No, I'm with you. Thanos is a weird character from like the comic books. I don't want to go too deep into it, but like he's kind of like a... Comic companies do a lot of like direct competition. Oh, you have a character that does this? Okay. Now we have a character that does this. So Jack Kirby came up with this incredibly, impossibly evil character named Darkseid. So then Marvel, I think it was Jim Starlin, created him.
We gotta mix up the vowels, right, and put them in the middle, so it's SEID.
Right. Yeah. That's right, Darkseid. Now, it awesome as Darkseid is, Thanos was like, oh yeah, well I'm even more so. So like, oh, you're Thanos, Darkseid likes this. Well, yeah, well I literally bang death. Like that's what I do. I literally have sex with death. Well, he never actually does. He like part of his character is he never actually, death appears not to really like him. She's like, yeah, whatever, dude. But that's not a hero there. Yeah. So like the dude is almost written like to an impossible standard of strength. And in the movie, he kind of is too, except for a couple of moments, which I find very interesting. From Infinity War. Mm-hmm. Scarlet Witch with one hand got the vision pressed, he got the gem pressed in his mind, right? Trying to break it. With the other hand, holding Thanos off with all but one of the stones. Yeah. Right? Breaks the stone and can still hold off Thanos. All right? Mm-hmm. Thor, with Stormbreaker, even when he has all of the gems, can still put the axe in his chest. Yeah. And if he had gone for the head, would have killed him, right? Mm-hmm. Does that mean Thanos can't mess with, can't manipulate the Bifrost?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, because otherwise right? That should be impossible.
So again, the Bifrost is the rainbow highway that goes between all the realms. Yeah. Because it's between the realms, universes, maybe worlds. Mm-hmm. Maybe he can't.
That's like off limits.
It's off limits.
Yeah.
Interesting, right? Mm-hmm. Endgame. Scarlet Witch again is like, I'm here to mess you up. And he's like, I don't even know who you are. And he's like, well, she's like, you will. Has your man pressed, is peeling him open like he was a can. Mm-hmm. Like he was like he was wrapping paper, peeling his armor off. He's like, blow everything up. Everything.
Yeah. Fire
everything. So it appears that she is able to at least threaten him to the point where he's like, no, I gotta stop this. Yeah. Her powers come from the Infinity Stone.
See, I didn't even realize that. I completely forgot about that.
Since they're not mutants, because they didn't have the rights to mutants, her and her brother got their powers from experiments in the Infinity Stones. That's right. So maybe it takes an Infinity Stone to kill him.
Could be. Maybe that would, I mean, that would be a pretty decent explanation of why that character in particular posed so much more of a danger than some of these others. It seemed like they were on the brink of killing him, but he somehow always beat him back.
Well, like, all right, so we all thought when the three main characters, right, roll up on Thanos, they got this. Thanos beat the shit out of them. Mm-hmm. And even when Cap gets like the hammer, which was the sweetest thing in the world, so awesome.
That's such a cool throwback when I guess Thor realizes, yep, you were faking it. You could have picked it up all along. That was such a funny throwback.
Okay, I have a second read on that scene though. Yeah. Okay, at first I was like, yeah, he could have done the whole time. He just didn't. Yeah. Which I was like, wait a minute. At that point though. He already knows that Bucky is alive and killed Tony's parents, but hasn't told anybody. Yeah. So it's like the black mark on his soul, making him unworthy to lift it. But now he's copped to all of
He's
it.
worthy. And they do throw that around a lot. When Thor can't pick it up, it's because he's not worthy.
When you're not worthy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the inscription on the side of the hammer. Whoever be so worthy to lift this hammer will show the power of Thor. However it goes. Maybe it's like the character arc. You've come to terms with your misstep.
Yeah.
You know, you could have done better. Now you have done better. You've got nothing else to lose because you put it all out there. Now you can lift the hammer.
Yeah.
Kind of cool either way, to be honest.
Just as plausible, just as cool.
Yeah.
Both just as fun to think about. Trying to think what else. So I know from myself. Oh, something I did want to point out. Am I mistaken, or did Thanos' sidekicks, for lack of a better word, still not get names? Did they ever name these guys that are his like right and left hand man?
I think he got names in the first one, but not names in the second one.
Okay, because that was the thing. I've been waiting. I didn't remember any from Infinity War, and I certainly didn't remember them in Endgame. And I'm just like, these are pretty big characters. They have a decent amount of screen time.
Sure.
And they kick a lot of ass.
They definitely kick a lot of ass.
Don't they deserve names?
I think it's weird that they don't.
Yeah.
I think it's really weird that they don't, especially considering, like a lesser film, they wouldn't even be effective. They'd be like dispatched. But like, no, they're like ass kickers.
Oh yeah.
Especially in the first one, like they're the ones that wound the Vision. They're the ones that abduct Doctor Strange. They are effective. I think it is a weird thing that they don't get anything. And I think I understand. You're here for Thanos.
Yeah.
You're not here for those guys. Maybe you should be. Maybe a better movie would have more of them. But you're here for Thanos.
Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you though.
Yeah. So really, the remaining points that I had in my mind were, go figure, positive things out of my mouth.
Holy smokes!
Right?
Did you actually like this spinning?
So there were certainly aspects of this movie I will not stop singing its praises.
Yeah.
Obviously, that Avengers Assemble scene.
Yeah.
I just have a little glimpse of it here, but
Yeah.
that scene, holy crap, was that
That's the money shot.
borderline the most epic thing I have seen certainly in any superhero movie.
Nothing compares to that.
Yeah,
man.
I was just like, it was like visual sensory overload.
Right.
It was like, this can't be. Oh my God, they're all here.
They're all here.
This is going to be amazing.
They're all here. Did you catch Howard the Duck?
Wait, did I catch what?
Howard the Duck is in the background of one of those things.
No, I did not see
Howard
this.
the Duck steps through one of the portals. Like he's
Oh
there.
my God. Yeah, that scene. I mean, of course, like you said, you want to watch the movie again. I need to watch it again because that scene, especially, I want to see.
Totally.
I want to just run that in slow motion and be like picking out like where's Waldo in this crowd and being like, oh my God.
So here's how much I bought that scene, going into it. When Cap gets the hammer, I'm like, oh, this is how it's going to go down. They're going to like kill each other.
Yeah.
Or like Cap's going to finish him and then something's going to happen. I really thought that was the end of the film. I didn't think we were going to get the big battle.
Right.
And I don't know why I didn't see it happening. So when he when he doesn't do it and he's like the shield is broken and he's like I'm going to stand up and take it. I was like, that's how else should Cap go out?
On
dying
his feet, right?
valiantly on his feet with his boots on.
Yep.
I thought that was how it was going to go down. So when you get on your left, I was like, wait a minute. It's like I thought it was going to be like a slow process where like all these people are coming back slowly, but they were like going to join the fight immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I was so happy about it.
Yeah.
Everyone came out. I was like, everyone is here. The Asgardians are here. It's so great.
Freaking Valkyrie flying around
On a freaking winged horse.
Oh my God.
I have
so cool.
one complaint.
Mm.
Just one.
Yeah.
And this is very peculiar. And really this is my only main takeaway, absolute negative from the film. Everything else I can kind of like understand.
Right.
You've been waiting since day one for this. This is the battle cry that we all have been waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
and he just says it. He doesn't yell it out like a battle cry.
Yeah.
That's it.
True. Yeah.
That's it. Otherwise, it was the right moment. It was the right time. It was the uplift moment when, like, you thought, all is lost and you got to take your medicine from Thanos one more time. This bald-headed bastard won again. No, it works. Like, everyone loses it after that. They're all screaming. They're running into battle. Giant Man, or Ant-Man is Giant Man, hits that thing with that cross and knocks it. Good Lord. It's everything you want. So that's really the only negative I can really say about the movie, unqualified.
Yeah.
You should have said it louder. That's it.
It really was as if they were like, well, we don't want to make this too corny, so we'll just have him kind of say it. But it's like, there is an in-between there. He doesn't have to be like Thundercats. Like, Thundercats, oh!
But, like, maybe you
could yell it.
Like, this is if there was a time,
like,
right. At the end of the world, you get to do stuff like that, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So, like, you know, I don't want to go too crazy, but like, at the end of the Two Towers, you get like this amazingly saccharine moment where it's like, you think maybe it's like figurative.
Yeah.
You know, on the fifth morning, look to the east. Look to the east, and I'll be there.
Yeah.
Like, it's literal. Like, it's literally, it's all is lost, and we had to ride to our deaths, and you look out, and on a literal white horse, Gandalf comes, and he's like, and he rides into battle, and like, it's so awesome that like the Uruk-hai can't even like look at it, like, but like by that point, yeah, you earned that.
Yeah, it's ass whooping time.
You
Let's get it on. Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
No,
so
I know what you mean.
If there was one time you could have gotten away with like the most pure, cheese ball moment, that was it. That was it. You should have done it.
Well, I tell you, in terms of cheese ball, what I loved about this movie, and I was gonna say it's no secret. No, nobody else would know this, but it's no secret to me that Ragnarok is one of my favorites of the movies. So I thought getting to see I guess everybody is kind of referring to him as Fat Thor.
Fat Thor.
But it was, for me, what I really liked about him. By the way, I don't know, the picture I have up here is Lebowski. It's like exactly what he looked like too, and they even made that joke in the movie, which I died laughing with that. But what I really liked about that, and it's the same reason I liked at least the first season of The Punisher on Netflix.
Yeah.
And same reason I really liked Iron Man 3, even though it seemed to me like a lot of people didn't care for it. A lot of people were
split on that, yeah.
I really have liked in the Marvel Universe the way they've tackled PTSD, trauma, like, mental trauma with these heroes.
Yeah.
I think all of them they've done a pretty damn good job with.
Sure.
And I thought it was really cool here. Of course, they got their jokes in, it was funny as hell.
Yeah.
But when it came down to it, they treated it with the reverence it deserved, which was, man, this guy is hurting.
Yeah.
Like, he is really hurting by basically standing there watching Thanos kill half of all things. Like, he was there. He could have freaking stopped it.
Right. He could have stopped it all.
And he screwed it up.
Right.
I mean, to be frank, he screwed it up.
And like, not to undersell it, but like, the character arc from Thor, I have positives, I have negatives about this. Mm-hmm. The character arc of Thor, starting from Ragnarok, and that's not the start of it, I'm just going to go back to that.
Yeah.
He finally gets back to Asgard, confronts Loki, just in time to watch his dad turn to dust, right?
Yeah.
That sucks. He then learns his dad lied to him basically about everything he understood. Mm-hmm. He finds out that his sister is way more badass than he is. On the positive side, he finds out that he loses his hammer. On the positive side, he finds out that he wasn't the hammer. It's inside him. Mm-hmm. But, like, it still doesn't really matter. He never beats Hela. He has to concede Asgard the place. His people become refugees as he watches them destroy his homeworld.
Yep.
And he's like, okay. He's not good. And then they turn around and Thanos.
Yeah.
So he has to like lose it all, lose it all, lose it all, lose it all, and then lose it all again.
Yeah.
And then you have one chance to get it right, and he loses again.
Yep.
So I buy it. I buy that it's PTSD. I've heard some people talk that like it wasn't okay to joke about it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't suffer from PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have firsthand knowledge. I'm certainly not an expert. There are people I've heard make some very well put criticisms of like, that's not an appropriate, you shouldn't use humor in this context.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also heard some other people who also have those backgrounds say, no, this was good. So I'm with you. I enjoyed it. I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But I do acknowledge that like, hey, maybe there is more to this. Maybe they could have gotten a consultant in here who suffered from something like, obviously not something like this, who suffered from PTSD. And you know, I think the joking about his weight and his appearance, I think it was more to it than just fat jokes. Yeah. But I've heard people talk about that as well.
Yeah.
But I was right there with you. Like, as soon as I saw him, like, I know they were joking, but I was like, hey, this is an uncomfortable humor, and like, it's not actually funny.
Yeah.
Like, this dude needs an intervention. He needs like, maybe intervention is the wrong term, but this guy needs some help, and there might not be anyone in the universe who can.
Yep. And no one could relate to what he's gone through. And
the one person that can,
it's already dead.
He has to go back in time to see his mom.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you know, one thing I didn't understand at first. He calls for the hammer, and it comes to him, and he's like, "I can actually hold it." And he realizes I've been worthy the whole time.
Yeah. And
it's like a huge, cool moment. And when it's time to go in the fight, first off, he kept Mjolnir, and I was like, "Wait a minute, you got to put that back."
Yep.
Maybe not. Okay. So he calls Mjolnir. He calls Stormbreaker, and he's got it, and he gets the braided beard, and he's got the suit back on, but he's still like thick daddy's Thor, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wouldn't the weight come off? And like, you know, maybe under like the rules of Asgard, they would come off or whatever. But I was like, no. Just because you've begun to heal from your trauma doesn't mean it goes away.
Right.
And I hope, I liked that. I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope if someone is suffering from PTSD or has undergone like a weight gain or an appearance change, I hope someone who's gone through that can look at that final fight, see Thor, and draw some strength from that, because that was freaking cool.
Oh, no kidding, man. I mean, when he fully embraced the god of lightning, and it's just, his eyes are glowing, there's just electricity everywhere. I don't even care that he had the weight on him with the beard and that weight. I was like, that's a damn Viking right there. Like, if there's a Norse god, a chubby, like, just ogre of a guy,
right,
with a beard, with a braided beard, and dual wielding weapons that nobody could even lift with one arm. Right. That's it. That's the image right there.
I still read the comic books sometimes. I just finished they had a female Thor for a while, and it's awesome. All new Thor, it rules. I'm not going to spoil anything about it. But Odin comes back at one point. He self-exiles and he comes back. And Odin is portrayed, even at being like an old dude, he's still like a badass. He's still like a badass warrior. And he is like the thicker, older. And there's even a far future story where we see like where Thor becomes the king. Yeah. And he's still kind of jacked, but he's like thicker and he's got the bigger beard. Mm-hmm. So I'm with you, man. I didn't care he was heavier. Like, that dude was still an ass kicker.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
A monster of an ass kicker.
By the way,
yeah,
that scene, I can't believe I almost forgot about the guy. But can we, for the love of God, get more movies with Korg?
Yeah!
Because that character is amazing. My God. So what was it? The director of Ragnarok voice acted and actually like motion captured.
I believe that's right.
That character. And every line out of that guy's mouth is hilarious to me.
Yes, I'm with you.
And the whole time when he's sitting there playing Fortnite and he gets on the mic, and Thor gets on the mic and cusses out this supposedly little kid, I was like, I'll take another movie with this.
Yeah.
With just bring Korg back, because Korg, they play him off as this, I want to say, cuddly teddy bear, he's made of rocks, as he points out. That he is a beast.
He's a bad dude, man.
Yeah, so I would love to see
Yeah.
more movies with him specifically.
Dude, I'm with you. So I don't know if there's a Thor 4 in the works.
Yeah.
And I know Hemsworth is like, I want to play Thor forever, and I'm
Yeah.
as long as
do.
you are up for it, play Thor. I'm down for it.
Yep.
At the end of the movie, the implication is he's going to join the Guardians.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so there for that.
Yeah, and that's exactly my thought was, where the hell is Korg? This guy needs to be on the ship.
Yeah.
He fits right in with that crowd, too.
Like, I don't want to. I want Asgardians of the Galaxy. I think that sounds great. But,
I love it. Yep,
but
I
if that means I don't get the follow up with more Korg, no. Back this out. I want more of that. I'm with you on that.
Completely.
Okay. I again. Do you have anything else on your list?
I have completely wrapped it up.
There are a couple things.
I hit the wrap it up button.
Wrap it up, B. There are a couple things that I find really interesting. And I understand that you can only do so much in a movie. And I also understand that, like, just because the stories are untold here doesn't mean they can't be told. Especially since they're... I think Disney's going to be... I think they announced 8 new Marvel movies.
Yeah, it was a bunch. Not all necessarily with titles, but they've got a bunch more in the works.
They got plans, right?
Yeah.
And they got the Disney series, Disney Plus that they're putting out. So they're going to make their own content. I don't think it's crazy to think this. Hey, who's been running Wakanda for the last 5 years?
Yeah, I'd like to know.
I'd like to know that. Okay, so I don't think Hydra existed, right? But what happened to S.H.I.E.L.D.?
That's true. That's really completely faded. I mean, they kind of left that to television, right? Anything having to do with S.H.I.E.L.D. for the most part, especially after Winter Soldier. But
right.
We really haven't gone back to that. Now we have, I mean, we've got Fury back.
Fury's back?
Right, at least in this timeline.
Right.
I mean, well, I guess it was all of them. I mean, they're all back at
Everyone's
this point.
back.
So yeah, it really would make sense to go back and be like, well, where's the hierarchy now? Like, where is this organization? Like, who is left? Because what Robert Redford's character, do we even know whether he survived the snap or not? I don't think
remember. We do. No. I don't think we do.
Not that it doesn't really matter.
But
anyway,
no, you bring up a point that, like, we, as much as we see like the world isn't right, we don't see the details of it.
Yeah.
And this is very curious to me. You pick a town. What's happening there? Is there anybody left in the town?
Yeah.
There's who's running the power plants? Are they laying new roads? Are there enough doctors? Are there enough policemen? Are there enough whatever? Judges, firefighters. The world's different, and there's likely been a lot of changes that have gone on in the world, and there were definitely hints at things that were going on. One of the things, Okoye says something like, "Oh, there's some stuff off like the coast of Wakanda, off the coast of Africa." Are they teasing Namor up in this? Like, whoa, like there's a lot of like, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but like, dude, they could do so many awesome stories. Again, we know time is it's not the linear time.
Yeah.
We're talking about parallel universes. When they botched the 2012 Tesseract job, that part of the heist.
Yeah.
Loki grabs it, goes away. That does not mean that what I think that means is there is now a timeline where Loki gets away after 2012.
Yeah.
But Rogers goes back, right?
Supposedly to that. I mean, you would think if he held up his end of the bargain to that exact moment,
to just give them the Tesseract
for Loki to then take it,
or go fight Loki, and then
wherever he took it to.
Like,
I don't
what is
know.
that? Like, what does his time journey look like? Or if you go with the writer's captain theory, where he always went back, he was always there. If it's that kind of deal, it was like the eventuality theory.
Right.
If Loki always gets away and then Cap always comes back and turns it over And Loki's a trickster. We don't know anything. And remember, when Loki dies in Infinity War, he's like, he pulls the Tesseract out, turns it over, stabs at Thanos, and goes out like a hero. What if that's because he knows there's another one of me with the Tesseract tucked away somewhere?
Right.
What if 2012 Loki is just out there?
Yeah.
And he could have been out there the whole time.
Could have been.
Like,
and his other self or selves could be fully aware that he's running around with this.
Fully aware or suspect.
Yeah.
Like, and look, we might never see Loki in a Marvel film post Endgame timeline. We might never see that. But like, they could do a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
A whole ton of stuff. Well, there's just so much cool stuff in here. When they brought all the women together and they did the clear the road scene, like, that was badass. Captain Marvel was badass. I loved seeing Pepper Potts in the rescue outfit. Like, that was so cool.
That was nuts.
I can't think of something I wanted to see that I didn't get.
Yeah.
And if there was any complaint, give me more. This movie could have been like 4 hours more.
Well, this is what my mind is blown with, is what you were pointing out, is that despite getting everything you could feasibly want or expect packed into this movie, despite having years in this MCU setup, despite this being supposedly the end of the line, it's Endgame, whatever, there is still so much that they can do.
They hardly scratched the surface
with what's left and what hasn't even been used yet.
Right.
That, when does this stop printing money? Like, I don't know when. Are we gonna be gone? We might be dead and gone.
Honestly, I think they have dispelled the idea of superhero fatigue, at least for now.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a variety of films. Maybe it's because they have a magic film and they got a science film and they got a space film. Maybe they're different enough. There's just no such thing as superhero fatigue.
Yeah.
Maybe. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure I really believe in that concept of like audiences tiring of something that's good. Realistically, all these movies are some version of good to great.
Yeah.
And as long as they keep that up, I think people are going to keep seeing them. And there's like, they can do things that are bigger than the movies.
Yeah.
There have been people who've really latched on negatively to the scene where all the female superheroes shows up. I don't understand why you could be upset. It's like a 6-second sequence, and then it goes right back to kicking ass.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why you could be have a problem with that. But like, I thought that was cool. But someone like your upcoming daughter might say, "Whoa, that's really cool." And as long as they can do things that mean more, you were there for Black Panther. Black Panther meant a lot to a lot of people.
Yep.
They're about to do an Asian, a Chinese superhero who's not even super, well, it's kind of superhero, Shang-Chi. Like, that's going to mean a lot to a lot of people who've never had that really happen.
Yeah.
If they've got so much ground to cover, it's going to be cool to see that happen. And that's the secret to Marvel's sauce. Even as far back as Captain America, it's like wish fulfillment of two Jewish creators that fled, Nazi Germany. The children of them wanted to make a superhero that little Jewish kids could feel good about, that embodied the spirit of America. Boom, you get Captain America. It's basically the same thing for Superman too, but like, these things are woven into the fabric of what these superheroes are. They occupy a space in people's hearts because they make you feel things. As long as they can make you feel something, whether it be a laugh or a tear or happiness or satisfaction, I think it's going to keep going. And I'll go one step further. If they were like, "That's it, we're shutting down the Marvel project," I'm fine. Yeah. This is good enough to end the whole thing on.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they hit all the notes that I think had this been the actual swan song, and they were just like, the rest is left to your imagination.
Yeah.
Like, whatever else happens in this universe, you write your fan fiction,
right?
You know, and that would still be cool. But I think what makes me excited after this movie, despite the fact that neither Infinity War nor Endgame was like blew my brain out the back of my head or anything. Sure. I will say what makes me the most excited is actually the fact that there's so much untapped that like I am so ready for something completely new. So I am so ready for new characters or entirely new takes on characters. Yeah. So that that's part of the reason I really liked the Thor, the way that played out. It's also why I'm so bummed I never got the opportunity to see Captain Marvel. I was so excited to see that movie. I just never got the time to do it.
You're gonna dig it, man.
But like that's why I was so excited for it. Is I was ready for something new. Like after there had been 2 or 3 Iron Man and Captain America movies, I was like, somebody needs to die here, and we need like the new guard. Right. You know what I mean? It's time for Peter Parker. It's time for these other characters to ascend,
and they certainly did that.
Yes, and this movie made it clear to me, as clear as it can be, that they're thinking the same thing. Yeah, they're on the same page. They're thinking it's time. Yeah, it's time to get people excited about the next step, right? Certainly. The new guard.
Certainly. And I think this would be kind of a cool way, unless you got something else you really want to get into.
No, I'm all good.
I think it's a cool time to talk about the Far From Home trailer.
I have not actually watched that.
You've not seen that?
No.
All right. We might need to do a part 2 of this. It's just part
just
of
on that. Okay.
Because if you're into that, if you're into like the kind of infinite possibilities, wink, wink, that's I don't want to spoil too much because I want you to get your reaction from that.
Okay, all right.
I think if it's legit, the read that people have on this trailer, I think it opens up exactly what you're talking about. Even more so than I think Endgame was like the future. Yeah. Far From Home's like and more.
Yeah.
For me, this movie was an A+, 10 out of 10. Recommend without qualifications.
Heck yeah.
Gotta see it.
All right. Yeah. I will at least for my part say if you're keeping up with the Marvel movies, you have to. I will say that's one of my big I guess it's actually 2 regrets. I didn't get to see Captain Marvel first, and I didn't get to see the second Ant-Man movie. Right. Which we were talking about it before we started recording. It ended up strangely that I don't think I wasn't missing that much knowledge required to understand Endgame by not seeing Captain Marvel. Yeah. I think you could kind of pick that up. I do feel like it would have been helpful to have seen more, at least some of Ant-Man 2. Yeah. So that I think I would have appreciated the whole quantum realm issue a little bit more. Yeah. Although you could still get it. You could still understand it. But
I saw both those movies, and I was surprised at how not critical they were.
Right. Yes.
Like it helped me, but I think it were percentage points on the score. Yeah. Like if I gave this a 99%, without those movies, I think I would have given it a 97, 96%.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I will come down on Endgame. Same with, I would say the same with Infinity War, in that they're must-sees if you enjoy this universe. Right. Like if you enjoy this universe, these are 2 movies you have to see. It's just not...
Can't be missed.
You can't miss them. In terms of like a grade, better than average. Okay. I like just pure entertainment value, not even like looking at it from a fan standpoint, just a moviegoer. Yeah. I'd say they were certainly better than average.
Okay. We give it a B range?
Yeah, I won't be. So I guess I haven't really paid attention to what else is on the slate for 2019 in terms of movies, or even 2020. But
I'm not sure.
But yeah, I'll put it this way: I'm not going to be surprised if there is something else out that I liked better.
Oh, like Lion King?
Yeah, I don't know. Or Pokemon, which looks freaking awesome.
You know what? I'll give you that one. That Sonic trailer? Huh?
Heck yeah. So I think it's not like I walked out of the movie. I know I was poking fun at it this whole video, but that's what I do. That's just, that's my nature. But I certainly enjoyed it. It was a better than average movie. Yeah. It's, it just wasn't something I came out and was just like. Of course, my mind immediately goes to something vulgar, but wow, I'm not sure I can come up with anything other than vulgarity.
Take it back to grade school. Maybe like it was like unwrapping a lollipop.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, it's just my mind wasn't like blown.
Right.
I was more just like, okay, I'm ready for what's next.
Okay,
like,
fair enough.
This is good that this happened finally. Yeah. I'm ready for the next step.
But it did make you excited for what's next.
Yes,
and
without a doubt.
I think that in itself is pretty darn impressive because this movie could have done the reverse. You could have been like, "This was cool, but I'm done."
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So I guess next we've already established what's next on the agenda, right? I guess I gotta watch.
We gotta watch Far From Home trailer.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that, right?
You didn't watch it. All right, call it. We gotta watch the trailer.
Well, yeah. For I guess from the two of us, I hope anybody who does stumble across this on YouTube or whatever platform exists in a decade, I don't know. You know, can we even imagine a world where Google and YouTube doesn't exist? But
maybe they get snapped out of existence.
Yeah, it could be. But yeah, appreciate you stopping by. I hope it was enjoyable. I know I had fun. I always have fun chatting with JB.
Always have fun.
So from both of us, thanks so much, and we'll catch you in the whatever the next installment is of Sly and JBell. Stab everyone to death.